How's it going, everybody? Welcome back to another edition of the Good Bit podcast. Thank you very much for tuning in this week. Always very grateful for your time. This week we have a very, very interesting film, something a little bit different from me anyway. We're chatting about the 1998, somewhat forgotten film, in my opinion anyway, Practical Magic. And joining me this week is actress, singer, producer, writer. It is the one and only Alyson Orr. And Alyson, when I first contacted you about doing this episode, I don't know if you remember this, but I did mention that I used to work at the theatre that you were doing panto in last year.
Oh, right, at the Pavilion.
At the Pavilion, right? So I must have seen you perform, I don't know, 19 times or something, 19 days in a row or something. And I mean, it was great. It was lovely seeing you every day, from afar at least. And it was always really entertaining stuff, but it was a bit wild watching the same show with the same like audience reactions and stuff. I'd never had that before, you know.
Yeah, it's quite, I know it's interesting, isn't it, with panto, because it is, you're getting the sort of same reactions to things, and then you know the script backwards, so you could actually go on stage for someone because you've seen it so many times.
That's
You're like,
right.
yeah.
I was thinking earlier on, I love like bad jokes. That's my thing, right? So like
Yeah.
that dad jokes, bad puns, things like that. What was the one the guy says? He's like, he was looking to find the slipper, and he goes, "Oh, I tried to find it to no avail," and he goes, "A veil? I thought it was a slipper." And I
Yes,
mean,
the old gags are the best. Eh?
boom. I mean, I don't think I got a great reaction every night, but I was howling.
But you liked it, Chris. That's the main thing. Yeah.
I liked it, yeah.
That was for you, especially for you.
You know, I was standing back there, you know, being like, it's a show 18, you know, we're getting nearly to Christmas. But that was the one that it got shut down early because all
Yeah,
the
that's
kind
right.
of audiences were ended up getting, I don't know, they were all getting sick or whatever. But how was that for you? Like mid run, you know, you had another week and a half, I think, of shows to go. Was it just
Yeah,
wild just to stop halfway through
it
the
was
run?
a bit disappointing because it had been so long since we had been on stage.
Of
So I
course.
think waiting all that time for Panto to come back, because the year before, I think there was a couple of Pantos went on down south, but the year before that, there was nothing up in Scotland.
Right.
So for us, it was obviously great to be back doing Panto. And then there was the sort of news that perhaps things might close again. So we were
Yeah.
kind of listening to that, wondering if we were going to close, we were going to keep going. And then, yeah, to stop, I guess, just before Christmas. It was quite an emotional show because Christmas Eve's always quite an emotional show
Right.
anyway. Everyone's so all the kids are so excited. Christmas is next day. Is a really lovely atmosphere in the theatre. So I think there was that as well as the sadness of it all closing. And it was such a lovely company. We all got on
Yeah.
really well. So it was quite sad not to see everyone every day. So yeah, it was a bit strange after
Yeah.
after all this time. But at least I think we almost did like 3 weeks. I think we got a 3 week
Right.
run, a 4 week run. So that was great.
Yeah.
It was great to be back on stage. And the Pavilion's such an amazing theatre. The audiences are just like no other. They're just the best audiences ever. So.
Right. I was going to say, because I don't know, obviously when you're preparing a panto, you're kind of going to, expect certain puns to get a certain reaction, or, you're going to have those like nice mix of like jokes for the adults and jokes just for the kids and things like that. There's like wee puns here and there and stuff like that. That must have been, especially the Pavilion, which has like a kind of like, I don't know, reputation of a certain audience or whatever, that's just going to be a bit more kind of lively and stuff, you know?
Yeah.
So I reckon that was a lot of fun. So hopefully, this year we don't have that issue again. But I'm no longer working there, but I will go back and watch the Panther this year. I don't think you're not in this one, are you, this year? You're doing another
No,
one?
I'm doing the music for it. So in the past, I've worked with the singers.
Right.
In the Panto, the years I haven't been in it, I've worked with the singers just on their harmonies and their songs and stuff. So they all
Yeah.
know what they're doing. Yeah.
Nice. And also you're currently working on another show just now, aren't you? Another musical. The
I
Coven.
am, yes. I've written a musical called The Coven, which is on at New College, Lanarkshire, with the musical theatre HND students. So that's been really exciting. They're a great bunch, great fun. And this is the first full musical I've written. I've dabbled in
Mm,
songwriting before or writing bits of music for things, but this is the first musical I've written.
cool.
I co-wrote it with a friend of mine, Irene Harris. So Irene wrote the book for it, and I did some of the lyrics. She did some of the lyrics, I did some, and I also wrote the music for it as well.
Nice.
And then it's got an electronic dance music track done by an amazing guy called Dovsky. No one knows who Dovsky is. This is mysterious. He's like Banksy, right? Dovsky. and he's done all the musical arrangements and the tracks for it. So
Cool.
it's a total sort of vibe, club vibe, sort of pulsing music. And the students have been great to work with, and they seem to be really enjoying it. They have
Brilliant.
been telling me that it's working well for them. So that's great, because that's my I guess the ideal audience for it would be people in their 20s, maybe.
Yeah.
So it's great that all the students are feeding back, saying, oh, we really like this, and we
Hmm.
would come and see something like this. So yeah, so it's basically the story of the three witches in Macbeth and what happens to them after they deliver their prophecies to Macbeth. What happens to them? Where do they end up?
Right.
So that's the story.
Cool. That was the college that I studied at. I studied the acting course at the
Oh
college
wow.
Lancashire
Yeah.
and in that building. So I performed in that space and stuff like that. So I'll be back. I've got a really good relationship with all the staff and stuff. So I'll be back, and I'll definitely come and see it. So that's the 1st to the
Great.
3rd of November, right? This
First
year.
to the 3rd of November. Yes, absolutely.
Yeah, nice. Um, so in terms of you performing and writing, I'm sure you've done some like producing and stuff before. How did it all get started for you? What was the first kind of instance where you went, I'm going to be on the stage or on the screen? How did it
I
start?
think that when I was in my late teens, of early 20s, I shared a flat with a writer called Stuart Thomas. And Stuart had just finished university and he wanted to be a writer. And I had just finished college and I wanted to perform and
Hmm.
sing and act and things. But it was really difficult to get work, it was to get opportunities for work. So we
Yeah.
decided to make our own opportunities and put a theatre company together. He would write the scripts and I would be in some of the shows, and also I would produce them. Now I had no idea how to produce a show, so I just sort of found my way with it. How,
Right.
how would I do this? And yeah, and I enjoyed it, and I actually found I had a bit of a flair for organisation, and I really enjoyed the producing side of it. So as I got older, sometimes I just produced shows. I didn't always have to be in them, and
Hmm.
other people would ask me to produce things for them, approach me and say, look, would you produce this for me or whatever? So that was nice. And through my career, I suppose I've done all three: the acting, the singing, and the producing. I think singing's probably my most fulfilling thing that I do. I'm really interested in, I love being around music and
Right.
creating harmonies and working with singers. That's probably my greatest passion.
Hmm.
But I love acting, and the producing is good fun. And I've had some lovely opportunities with producing to work with quite a few big names on it, that have approached me, or someone they know has approached me on their behalf, saying, would you organise a show for the likes of Alex Norton or Jonathan Watson, whatever they've
Yeah.
would you do this? And I was like, I'd be delighted to. So that's been great to work with people like that, really amazing actors and performers.
Dovsky.
And Dovsky, he's keeping a low profile at the moment, but maybe he'll be asking me to
Who
organise
knows?
a tour of his music. Who can say?
Do you have like a favourite like tune you like to sing?
Well, certainly the favourite genre I like to sing is probably jazz or swing. That's my, or easy listening. I'm a bit of an easy
Okay.
listening buff. I love the Carpenters and things, and
Nice.
all the old tunes that
Yeah.
I love all that stuff. And at the Pavilion as well, we do a lot of shows called Jukebox Memories that I do with
Absolutely.
my group, and we get to do all the old 1950s, 60s songs. So that's always a joy to perform them as well.
Yeah. That was the maybe going to be like, okay, now performing live is Alyson on the podcast. Pick a tune, and here we go. I'll play it for you. That sounds brilliant. I mean, I've always wanted to have a full kind of rep of performance. Do you know what I mean? Whether it be singing, dancing, acting, instruments, speaking different languages, all that stuff. But I'm just not good. I just can't sing. It's not I can't sing. I don't sing well, is what I should say. And it's just about finding those songs, though, right? That you can kind of
Yeah,
do in
right
auditions and stuff,
for you.
and like work your way through. Like the one I always use. Not that this has got me much success, but I usually do the rock song from Moana, "You're Welcome,"
All right, okay,
because
yeah,
it's got a wee bit of a rap in it. You can kind of like
cool.
talk your way through it. But then the lyrics are all about having lots of tattoos and having a big body and stuff. So I think the people who are casting it are just looking at me going, "Why have you picked this song?"
That's where your acting comes into it. You're like, I
That's it.
make you believe that I am this character.
That's it.
Absolutely.
If you can see it in your head, it's like a manifestation. I'm going to become
Yeah,
him on the stage.
absolutely. I'm not
Um,
much of a dancer, so I think when I was younger, that was always, I had the fear, of
mm,
auditions where they would say, come along and sing and do your acting piece, and that was always fine. And a lot of the times, a few times I'd be asked back for a recall in the afternoon, we're going to have a dance audition. And that was always the words that,
Yeah.
sent me into a total panic, because I can dance like in my bedroom, in front of the mirror, and
Right.
and I can freestyle really well. Yeah, just have a lot of fun. I love jumping about to dance. And if you're somewhere like a club and stuff and you dance, I
Yeah.
enjoy dancing. But choreography and set moves, I find really, really difficult. And what would happen at these auditions, I'd always make a fool of myself because everyone would be turning left or right, and I'd be going the opposite way and bumping into people. And so any chance I had, any good impression I had made in the morning was gone by the
Right.
afternoon, because I had managed to blow the acting, the dancing audition.
Yeah.
Not my strong point. And now that I'm
No.
older, I don't get asked to dance so much, so that's quite good. So you don't really get those kind of auditions now, which is
Right.
quite good. But in my 20s, I did, and I think eventually I just conceded defeat and thought, well, I don't really dance, so there's no point humiliating myself
No.
anymore. I'll just, if my agent says it's got dancing involved, I have to say no, that's not for me.
Yeah, maybe not for me. Yeah. Oh, honestly though, but like when it'd be different classes you'd have when I was at college at NCLan, like we would at the end of like every kind of module, they would write a wee report and say like,
Mm,
like how you getting on about like a progress thing. And I would always be doing all right, like camera wise and acting and singing wasn't great, but it
mm.
was coming along and stuff like that. And I had a movement lecturer called Drew, and he just like wrote a report for me that was just like, he is trying. And I was
Oh.
like, well, that's me. So you need to give it, I actually was looking through loads of like old Facebook groups yesterday or maybe the day before. And there was like a video that we did from our movement class, and we're doing some mad dance. And first of all, I was looking at it going, that doesn't even look like me anymore. I was like, what was I doing? But just watching myself trying to do it, I was like, what was I trying? Do you know what I mean? Like I just knew I wasn't good at it. But you need to try. You never know. You never
Absolutely.
know.
Did you get the prize for effort? Sometimes when you were at school, you
Mm.
would get a prize for effort.
A wee
You might
golf
not be the
clap or something
best.
like that.
Yeah,
Yeah.
you wouldn't be the best at it, but you'd maybe get a good try, and
Yeah,
you could
yeah, that
get
was
the
good.
prize for the
At the end
effort.
of our course, we had like wee awards and stuff, like most likely to do this.
Yeah.
And I think mine was like most likely to return as a lecturer. And I was like, I was really hoping there was going to be one that was like most likely to, finally become this great mover in life, but that didn't happen.
Oh.
Um, no, but listen, it's fine. We all know our strengths and weaknesses. In terms of watching movies, do you remember like your first time going to the cinema, or do you have an early favorite movie that you can tell us about when you were watching movies when you were wee?
Yeah, I guess my mum was really into like old black and white Hollywood movies and musicals. So that was when I was young, I was exposed to a lot of that. My mum would say, you need to see this or
Yeah.
whatever. And when I was a kid, we didn't have like, videos and, DVDs and things. So whatever was on the TV, you'd get to maybe see. But I remember going to see The Sound of Music when I was maybe about 10. They reran it. It had a sort of comeback. I don't know why. Maybe it was a sort of anniversary of it or something.
Nice.
But they brought the movie back out in the cinemas because I think it was made in 1965, I think. So in the 70s, they brought it back to cinemas. I remember going to see that about 6 times. I just wanted to keep going back to see that. And also Grease was a big movie when I was a kid
Mm,
as well. I remember going to see that a number of times and been just transfixed by it all and thought it was amazing. So
yeah.
I guess the movies I remembered as a kid were music based. I was obviously really interested in music, so that was the ones that sort of stick with me.
Yeah. Was the Sound of Music like your record of how many times you saw a single film in the cinema?
Yes, and I also we had the soundtrack in the house, the vinyl in the house, because my brother, who's a bit older than me, he'd gone to see it as a kid when he was a
Right.
kid. So we had this album, and again, I just played that all the time. It was all scratched and everything. I just played that all the time and performed all the songs.
Yeah.
What fun for my mom and dad.
Isn't it crazy how like vinyls are like on the comeback now though? Like
I
it's
know,
like
I
a
wish
thing
I'd
now.
kept mine because I get rid of, when I was having a big clear, I
Yeah.
don't like clutter. So I'm a bit of a let's get rid of everything. And a number of years ago, I think I was moving house and I got rid of all my albums. And I kind of wish I hadn't. Think, oh,
Yeah. You probably remember buying certain ones and stuff, and they probably become like, like I played this one loads when I was younger and stuff like that. But now it's like you get all the brand new albums and
yeah,
stuff like that in that big format. It looks really cool, but I don't
yeah.
have a record player. I don't know, but I think it would be quite a cool collector's item, right? Like having like your favorite artist from today in that style.
Yeah, I think I've hung on to one bit of vinyl, and I was a huge Kate Bush fan when I was a kid.
Oh yeah.
And she brought out this EP It's got, I think it was 4 or 5 tracks on it. And that was, I don't know if that's a collector's item. I've hung on to that because I don't know how easy that is to come by. So that might
I
be worth.
reckon you probably would. Like, there would be some rare ones in
Yeah,
there. You know what I
that might be
mean?
worth something. The albums maybe not so much because you can still get them, but
Yeah.
this was like an EP, and I think it had 4 or 5 tracks on it, and I don't even know if all the tracks were on the albums. If it was maybe a
Mm.
couple that were, but I've hung on to that, and I've still got that somewhere. But everything else I got rid of, but I should have probably kept them.
Yeah. I think I know more people with like vinyls now than I do with actual CDs. Like I
Yeah,
don't even
uh-huh.
see any of these CDs anymore that you would get. Like I remember that. Like I'm not that old, but like I remember getting like the CDs you could put in the car and stuff, like, even tapes and
Yeah.
stuff. But I think everyone like would kind of prefer a kind of bigger vinyl now. I think that's quite cool. Whether you frame it or
Sound of
something.
it's really good. I think vinyl when you
Right.
hear it, I think the sound's really amazing. You're like, wow, it's
Yeah.
yeah, it's quite cool.
What are so you said that you love music and film stuff like that. What are some of like your favourite musicals then other than, the Sound of Music and other ones? Grease.
Favorite musicals? Well, you mean like film musicals or
Either
musicals
or.
in general?
Either or.
I really like Jesus Christ Superstar, and I like
Mm,
the movie for that as well. I thought the movie was great. I think anything that's quite sort of Evita. I like the movie of
mm.
that with Madonna in it. I thought that was great. I think anything with Andrew Lloyd Webber's tunes, I think make a good
Right.
movie. You know, I'm a big fan, so those ones were great. What other musicals do I like? I like the film Some Like It Hot. That's not really a musical, but I like
Right.
the music in it. I
Yeah.
think there's some really good tunes in there. And some of the other Marilyn Monroe films, is it Gentlemen Prefer Blondes is quite a good one as well. There's
Okay.
a good few numbers in that. Yeah, just anything at that time, I think, just it always looks amazing, and
Yeah.
all the massive orchestras and the arrangements and stuff. It's really cool.
That kind of style. Have you seen the new Marilyn Monroe film on Netflix?
I haven't. I've got it on my my
Yeah, me too.
list, but I haven't watched it yet.
I mean, it's not like it's really long, isn't it? It's like 3 hours.
Oh, is it? I don't know.
Yeah.
I haven't watched it yet. I'll definitely
Marilyn
give it a watch.
Monroe film, Netflix. Let's do a research.
Okay.
But yeah, it's done some. I think people are kind of moaning about it, but I think the trailer looked really good. And Anna de Armas is
Mm-hmm.
great. I think she was
Right.
great in Knives Out. I thought she was brilliant in that, and she's in the new Bond film too.
All right. Okay.
Yeah, 166 minutes. It's nearly 3 hours.
Oh, I'll need to watch it.
But yeah, no, that's on my list as well. I can't say I know much about her, but
Mhm.
I said the trailer looked really good, so I'll definitely check that one out. What else are you watching just now? You got any TV shows on? Kind of.
I'm watching The Watcher.
Oh yeah, the brand new one.
Yeah, that's good.
How's it going?
I'm enjoying that because I don't really know. I don't know if it's because I'm an actor, because I've read a lot of scripts. I think sometimes when I watch TV, I guess sometimes what's happening before
Yeah.
it's happened. And it's quite an annoying thing for my partner because he's like, oh, what, And I said, do you think in the what's going to happen is, he's going to do that? And he's like, oh, come on. And then,
Yeah.
of course, it happens. But with The Watcher, I would say I have no clue where it's going,
Okay.
which I like because I'm guessing. I'm going, oh, now is that good? And I'm trying to think of possible solutions to everything, but I
Mm.
don't have a definite idea yet. And usually with TV shows, I'm sometimes, not always, but I'm a wee bit ahead of it. I'll go, I think that's going to happen. And then sure enough, a lot of times it does. So I've spoiled it for everyone. But The Watcher, I don't know. I'm not sure where it's going. I think I've got 3 episodes left to watch. So I'm quite far into it. And I'm
Cool.
not sure where it's going to take me. And then I started watching, I haven't finished it, a film, is it called Prom, with Meryl Streep in it and James Corden
Okay.
and Nicole Kidman. And I think is it about like a sort of Broadway performers who are maybe a bit down in the luck, and they go to this little town to try and help this girl who wants to go to prom. Uh,
Yeah, yeah. The prom. Got it here. The prom.
yeah, so yeah, the prom, yeah. And she's been banned from going to her prom, so they turn up in support.
Hmm.
But really, they're doing it, I think, as a publicity stunt to try and get their careers back on track. But I haven't watched it all, but certainly the music that I watched in it,
Cool.
I really enjoyed. I thought it was really good fun, and Meryl Streep was fabulous, and it's completely over the top and wonderful as always.
Yeah. I was gonna say anything with Meryl Streep, do you know what I mean?
Oh, she's
Uh
great. Yeah.
yeah, that sounds interesting. Okay, cool. Yeah, I'm just always looking for like recommendations and stuff. I just finished watching She-Hulk on Disney Plus.
Oh, I haven't seen that. No.
Um which got a lot of like flack from Marvel fans and stuff. But I think fans of like that those sort of films, whether it's Star Wars or superhero films, stuff, they're always quite strict on their own stuff. Um, but I enjoyed it. I mean, it was really easy to watch. I think that's like the key. Like, see, sometimes if it's a real
Mm.
struggle to get through, like if you're on episode
Yeah.
5 and you know there's 10 episodes, you've got a whole other half to go. You're like, oh god. But I thought it was really easy to watch and stuff. The soundtrack for that is great. Loads of good tunes in that. It's not a musical, but like just the songs they have in the
Yeah.
episodes. Um, but the only issue with it was that she kind of breaks the fourth wall a lot. In
Right.
fact, no,
Okay.
not a lot. That's the point. She doesn't do it enough, is what I'm trying to say. If you're going to do something like that, like The Office, for example, I feel like you need to really commit to it, and
Mm.
like make it a show that we're going to speak to the camera, speak to the audience and stuff all the time. Whereas like maybe she does it once an episode, like a wee random like joke at the side, and
Sure.
it almost kind of like takes you out of it a little bit. So I kind of wish they'd really kind of went in for that a bit more, and like really embraced that kind of use of you know having that break in the
Yeah, it's
play.
a device just going with it, yeah, rather
Yeah.
than not committing
Um,
to it. Absolutely.
I mean, some of the CGI is really good. It's Marvel, of course, but there's times where she's like walking when she's in like She-Hulk form, and it looks a little bit ropey. But other than that, I think it's good. People are just a bit harsh on that sort of stuff. But I don't know. You into any of the superhero films, Marvel stuff?
No. No,
No.
not my thing. I know they're huge and I mean really
Yeah.
successful and stuff, and I know a lot of people that are, but I just not really. I don't really like kind of comic book things or science fictiony things or anything.
Okay.
I quite like things that are more like real. Like I like thrillers. That's probably my
Yeah.
favorite genre of film. I love things that are kind of quite exciting to watch and where's this
Mm,
going to go, and or music, things with music in them. It would be
yeah.
my
Yeah. Me
choice.
too. Thrillers are probably my favorite as well. I don't know why, just because it's so broad of a topic, so you can kind of like
Yeah.
find any sort of really interesting film from that. And speaking of thrillers,
Yes.
is this a thriller? I don't know. I guess it is a thriller. When I was asking you to pick a film, you came back
Yeah.
with Practical Magic
I can back
with
print. Yeah. Hmm.
Nicole Kidman and Sandra Bullock, and I'm not going to lie, I've never heard of this film before.
Okay.
Um, and honestly, I feel like I'm quite good with that sort of stuff. I'm like, yeah, let's try and watch all these different films and stuff. I'd never heard of it, so that's a good thing for me. I'm trying to like watch different things, and that's the whole point of the podcast, essentially. Like speak to people about their films to recommend them to me. But I watched it last night, really enjoyed it, and
Hmm.
I'm kind of curious to know why you picked this one.
I really like things that deal with witchcraft. I'm a bit
Okay,
fascinated by witchcraft. So anything with, witch in the title, or whether it's a horror or even a comedy or a fantasy thing with witchcraft in it, I find really interesting. And probably that's why when I was writing a musical, that was the subject I wanted to go to. So that drew me to watching the film. I also think the cast are really good. Like I think Sandra Bullock and Nicole Kidman and Stoker Channing, of course, and Diane Weiss are the older,
yeah,
the aunties in it. They're both fabulous as well. So I think the cast was really good. And I'd read the book as
mm,
well, the Alice Hoffman book. I'd read that first and I really enjoyed it. And then when I didn't see the movie until recently. I know it was like probably about 20 years old or something, but
98, yeah,
98, yeah. So I hadn't seen it. I probably watched it about a year ago for the first time. And yeah, just I really liked it. I thought it was, I loved the parts of it where that kind of be careful what you wish for message in it a lot,
right,
where people want certain things, that they want romance or they want to be beautiful or whatever, but then there can be a sort of downside to that, and it explores that quite a lot, of people wishing for things, getting what they want and then wishing they didn't have it.
yeah,
So I quite like that element. There's a kind of a message in there for that, and I liked it because it could have had a bit of everything. It wasn't really a horror film, so it wouldn't be something that would be terrifying, but it had a few moments that were quite gruesome or quite dark. But it had quite a lot of lightheartedness and a bit of comedy provided
totally,
by the two older actresses that played the aunt. And that kind of gave it a bit of you know made it a little bit more fun. And I like the kind of generations of women, the fact that
mm,
that their ancestor had, she'd survived execution, I think, as a witch. I think that's
right,
where it comes from. And then there was a kind of curse on the family all the way through. So it dealt with lots of generations of women from the same family and how that sort of curse was passed down, and then how they managed to free themselves from the curse. And I just thought it was a really interesting film for lots of reasons. It dealt with the occult a little bit as well, with
yeah,
spells and witchcraft and Yeah, and I don't know, I mean, if I believe in things of a sort of
Right.
spiritual nature, but I'm quite fascinated by it. I quite like things that are a little bit scary or make you think a bit
Mm.
beyond a sort of day to day of what's out there or what could be. And I love ghost stories as well. I love
Hmm.
well told ghost stories. I'm fascinated by that, and I think it's just really entertaining. So yeah, so that was what kind of attracted me to it, to watch it. But as I say, I'd read the book. The book was really
Right.
good. Probably say the book I enjoyed more, just but that's quite common, isn't it? Sometimes a book,
Yeah.
it's really hard to recreate everything that you've got. So but I still thought it did a reasonable job of it. It was quite you know, quite similar to the book. It did a good job with it, and yeah, I enjoyed it.
Cool. Nice Halloweeny choice, around this sort of time of
Absolutely,
the year,
yes.
Um,
A bit of witchcraft for Halloween, totally, yeah.
I can't do really scary films.
No.
I get really, it's not so much that I get scared easily. I'm always just like, why would you want to be scared? What are some of your favorite kind of like scary films? Are you into horror films as a genre, or is it just certain ones you like?
The ones that really scared me recently, have you seen The Babadook?
No, I'm probably going to say no to most of these because I tried
That's
to avoid them. It's like,
terrifying. I found that really scary. I was like, "Ooh, that was so scary." And I actually think I had nightmares about that after
really?
watching it. I think yeah, I woke myself up in a big panic about it. Yeah, that was really scary. What other ones have I seen? There was one that watched recently. I can't remember the title. It was a room number. Is it 17? Basically, just John Cusack in it for the almost on his own for the entire film, and it was absolutely fantastic, really scary, really well done, and just completely held you for how long it was, 90 minutes or whatever. It was excellent. I can't remember the
1922, maybe. I was just thinking, or
1922.
1408, maybe.
It's John
Yeah.
Cusack's in it, and so is I think Samuel
Yes,
L. Jackson's in it as well.
yes,
And
yes. 1408, that's the one we're looking at.
1408, that's the one.
Yeah, yeah.
And it's yeah, and it's basically room 1408 in an old-fashioned
Mm,
hotel. And it's supposed to be haunted, and he investigates kind of paranormal activity, but he doesn't really take it seriously. He thinks it's a bit of a joke. And then, of course, when he goes to this room 1408, lots of things go on, and he's like, oh, and
yeah,
he kind of revises his opinion, shall we say, of perhaps certain things. So that was
yeah.
totally scary. And again, that's an older film. I think that's what maybe, I don't know when that was made, but it's quite a number of years old now, I would think.
2007.
2007, yeah. So I thought that was, I'm trying to think of other ones that I've watched.
That looks scary. That looks good though. As I say, I don't like
Good,
scary films, so that does look good. I might check that one out.
very well put together. It's really
Yeah.
sort of full of suspense, and you're kind of like, right, okay, what's going to happen next, and
Mm.
where's this going to go? It keeps you sort of guessing as well. It's great.
I saw one in the cinema recently called Smile. Have you seen the trailer for that?
No, I haven't seen that one.
It was pretty scary. That's probably the scariest one I've seen at the cinema actually.
Wow, right, I'll
It's
take note
like
of that.
if someone's got a curse and if this person is nearing death, if they smile at you, then now you have the curse. So
Oh
it's this
gosh,
like creepy kind of smile. It was really good though. It was really well made.
yeah, mm-hmm.
And it's one of those ones that you don't mind to keep watching. And there's a lot of jump scares and stuff, which obviously is just jump scares, but it's the creepiness of the smile, which was the
Yeah,
creepy part of it.
right,
But films
okay,
like The Shining and stuff like that always said they were really scary too because it's like a psychological thing, you
yeah.
know.
Or Halloween. Halloween, when I first,
Halloween,
I haven't seen it recently, but certainly when I saw it when I was young, I was absolutely terrified.
yeah, yeah. And I mean, there's Halloween. What's the new one now? It's like Halloween 64 or something.
Yeah, there's so many of them. Yeah,
Yeah,
I can't remember which one she's doing, but the first one is just so scary. Well, certainly as a teenager, I found it
yeah.
really scary. I was like, oh my goodness, this is so frightening. And again, I probably couldn't sleep all night. I'd be terrified. And then you think, why have I done this? But I do love horror films, and I quite like being scared. I quite like that.
Do you like that jumpiness kind of like?
Or A Nightmare on Elm Street, I found
Oh
again when
yeah.
I saw it when I was younger, I found it really scary. And you couldn't get away from Freddie because he was in your
In your
dreams. I mean,
dreams.
how awful is that? You can't even get away. So you're terrified to sleep in case Freddie came to get you.
How awful is that? He's in your dreams.
He's like, comes get you in your dreams, and then
That is bad.
you can't go to sleep.
I like the Texas Chainsaw Massacre as well. I've seen the original one, but there's like loads of remakes of that too, right? There's like a
I've
new
never
one
seen
every
yeah,
few years, I think.
I've never seen it, but yeah, I think it's probably a bit too gory for me. I don't really like zombie films either. Anything that's
Mm,
too kind of heads being cut off or things, a lot of blood. I prefer things that are more kind of supernatural in nature. Where's
yeah,
this going? Why is that? And then usually there's a reason for why the ghost has done what it's done or whatever.
yeah.
And then there is one that's really scary. I can't remember the name of it. Ethan Hawke is in it.
Yes.
What's that called? And he finds the old,
Sinister?
is it Sinister? It's called. He
Sinister.
finds the old tape, the old reel-to-reel
Yeah.
tapes in his attic. That's terrifying.
It's a good one. Yeah. Ethan Hawke's quite good.
Yeah.
Anyway, back to Practical Magic. I think there's a lovely sister relationship between the two of them. It's really nice, isn't it? A really nice dynamic between them, kind of Thelma and Louise kind of style, you know.
Yes. And both actresses work really well together. I don't know if they've ever done anything together since,
Don't
but they
know.
do have a really good on-screen chemistry together. They've got a good. They're so different, and I
Yeah.
think that works really well. It's nice. And then the daughters as well.
Mm-hmm.
Sandra Bullock's daughters, I suppose, are really like, well, I thought were kind of like younger versions of the relationship perhaps that the two of them had. The daughters might have a similar thing.
Definitely. Yeah. And obviously it leads over to the ants as well that are just daft. And there's
Yes.
like a really big moment where like looks like someone had just died or something, and they kind of appear out of nowhere, and it's like, oh, it looks like we didn't appear just in the nick of time.
Yeah, it's just they're always just having a bit of a laugh with what they're doing and stuff, which I really liked. And then the serial killer guy as well, the guy that she gets involved with is quite a sinister character as well. With
Totally.
And then he comes back, doesn't he? He sort of comes back to haunt them, and
yeah, Jimmy.
How they deal with that as well is quite good. How do they get rid of Jimmy? What they're going to do to get rid of his evil spirit once and for all. So yeah, I think it covers a lot of bases as a film, because you do get a few moments, as you say, of kind of you have a laugh with it.
Definitely.
And there's a few really dark moments you're like, oh, this is a bit scary. And then
it's taking a bit of a turn.
But then you're also dealing with, I suppose, in some ways, it does make some statements about women and how women were treated, and you know, that whole witchcraft, the execution thing. So that's covered in it, even though the movie's not really like, it's not like The Crucible or something. It's not really about that, but it still touches on the fact that, you know, that wasn't all that cool to execute women.
Right, absolutely. I mean, it looks like they're having a great time, you know, on camera as well, like in terms of them acting together. I always like that, you know. I don't know if it's because like I'm an actor and I try to look at those things, you know, like are they having fun? Is it looking as if it's like a fun set to be on and stuff? And it always looked like they were having a good time. But the bit where Jimmy kind of comes back to life the first time because they've killed him. They said, you know, we've accidentally poisoned him.
We
can't have this. This is absolutely disgraceful. We must use our magic to bring him back. And as soon as he's back, he immediately goes back and starts choking her. So they just kill him again. It's like a sharp cut to them like digging his grave. I thought that was really funny. And that's like I think that set the tone. It was quite early on. It kind of set the tone for the rest of the film. I thought that was really good.
Yeah, and also it's got like her husband. Obviously, he dies, doesn't it? Because there's a curse on the, you know, she's, and if is it a beetle or something like that? If there's a beetle stuck in it, she has to kill that.
The wee sound effect of the beetle is horrible, isn't it? It's like so disturbing.
But that's a curse, isn't it? She has to something to do with the beetle. She has to kill the beetle to kill the curse, but she doesn't kill it, and then her husband ends up getting run over, doesn't he?
Yeah,
because they're cursed.
What a twist that was as well. I was like, what was a bit brutal?
Yeah,
hit by the car. Yeah.
Again, it's a film where you're not quite sure where it's going, so I like that in a film that I mean, I'd read the book, so I guess I did know where it was going. But even reading the book, I was like, where is this taking me? This book, I couldn't really guess the ending and stuff. I like things like that throws in all sorts of other plots or other things to keep you always guessing, rather than, you know, in the first few chapters going, I know how this is going to end up.
Yeah. Are you a big reader?
Yes.
What you currently reading?
Again, I like thrillers. So there's a writer called, is it C.L. Taylor? I think it is.
Yes.
She's written a lot of really good books.
I've got one of her books, yeah.
Yeah, I like her. I like Lisa Jewell. She's written a lot of good thrillers as well. Just anything that's kind of an easy read, you know, something that's not too... a thriller that's a fairly easy read that you can pick up on holiday or just read whenever you are, or maybe before you go to sleep at night, read a couple of chapters. Just it's something quite easy to sort of take in. They're probably my favourite books to read. And,
I think it's The Island, C.L. Taylor. The Island.
Oh yes, yeah.
I think that's the one I've got. I've not read it yet, but I've got it upstairs. So I've just finished reading this one. It's called The Castaways. By Lucy Clark, and I would really recommend it. I really enjoyed it. I'm not a big reader. It's something that I've past couple of years made it as like New Year's resolutions to try and get better at. And set a wee target, like trying to read a certain amount of books a year. So struggling a little bit this year. I don't know what it is. Maybe it's an attention span thing, but it's just something I've always kind of wanted to get better at. I don't like the fact I wasn't like a strong reader. So this one was really easy. Short chapters, which is nice to get through, you know. And it's about, and again, another sister relationship that kind of goes awry, and they're on a holiday. One of them goes to where they were going to go. One of them doesn't show up for the plane, and it's about them trying to get back in contact. So,
That sounds good. Yeah.
yeah, recommend it. It's really
Yeah.
good. The kind of love interest that ends up coming into it, the detective,
Yes.
played by Aidan Quinn, Gary Hallett is the character name.
Mm-hmm.
I don't mean to be mean or cruel here. I'm trying to say this in the nicest way possible. He's not your conventional kind of Hollywood hunk, kind of good-looking guy, is he? I think he looks a bit strange for this particular role. Maybe he's a little bit older. I don't know, but it's not
Yeah,
what
he's
I
maybe
had
a
in
little
mind. You
bit,
know,
yeah, a little bit older,
but
but
rugged.
maybe,
Yeah.
but that's maybe deliberate in casting because she's created an ideal man as a child. She's wished for this person, and maybe she doesn't know it when she sees it to begin with. And maybe if he
Right.
had been a big Hollywood hunk, maybe that would have been too obvious that that is who she's going to find love with. Maybe
Yeah. No, absolutely.
it's
That's probably
maybe
what it is. Yeah.
it's maybe deliberate so that when he turns up, as the audience, we're still thinking, is this the man that she wanted when she was a child? She had this image of what her perfect man would be. And the husband was quite a good looking guy, wasn't he? He was,
Yeah.
and so obviously you think, well, that's who she's meant to be. She's dreamt up this as a kid, and she finds true love with this big handsome hunk. But then, of course, unfortunately, he gets killed. So then this other guy turns up, and perhaps it's more, he's not so obviously her Prince Charming, but
Yep.
that he is.
But he is. There's a
Yeah.
plot twist.
Yeah.
They fall in love awfully quick, but I guess that's kind of the point, right? You know.
Yeah. But it's magic, it's practical
Yeah,
magic. It's
of course
all,
it is.
it's witchcraft. It's like, spells and
Yeah.
it's
Well, I was
meant to
thinking,
be.
of course, I was thinking as well, like in terms of Harry Potter, right? It's like the go-to thing for magic, especially these days. Everyone goes to Harry Potter and stuff like that. They were only allowed to use magic within the school, weren't they? Like until they were old enough. They're
Oh
not
yeah.
allowed to use magic at home during the summer holidays and stuff like that.
Yeah.
Whereas Sally and
Jillian.
Gillian can use magic whenever they want. So they were
Yes.
able to kind of have that perfect ideal love interest, do you know what I mean, and make it work. There's a really nice scene with their daughter, and with Gillian's daughter, and she says something like, "Oh, I just can't wait to fall in love." And there's this moment where like Nicole Kidman is trying to like explain to her. I don't know if she explains to her, but she has that realization like, "Oh, like you don't really understand the kind of nature of this curse yet." I thought that was really nice, and she kind of talks about what love is and how it makes you feel. It feels like you're spinning round and round. You don't know anything around you and stuff like that. I thought that was a really nice scene. There's loads of nice kind of heartfelt scenes in the movie.
Yeah, and I think they've got a nice relationship because obviously she sees that as herself, doesn't she? I think when Nicole Kidman's character sees a younger girl as perhaps because she looks up to her so much, so she maybe wants to be her, and she's maybe a bit fearful of her perhaps being too like her because she's had a bit of a troubled life with relationships and things that she's done. So she's maybe a bit more careful about that, maybe.
Yeah. My least favourite part of the film, I will say, is when they're cutting the hands and the blood and stuff. Oh, I didn't like it. And then like there's a kind of montage of them all like high-fiving. I was like, oh no, don't do that. I don't like that at all. Some of the special effects and the CGI is really good though, like that the bit where kind of Jimmy kind of comes back, or the spirit of Jimmy anyway comes out. And it didn't look like CGI. It just looked like nice effects and stuff,
Oh yeah, no, they are quite nice effects with that when he comes out the ground and stuff, and the flowers and all that are growing, and he's part of it and stuff. Yeah, that was good.
That was quite nice. And there's a bit where like you can see his feet, and then it's just kind of disappearing in the ground and stuff. Like I don't know what the budget was, but it was turned out quite well, I think.
Yeah, that's good. It's a good movie. I loved it. I just thought it was great.
Yeah. So this is the Good Bit podcast, right? We talk about all the best bits of the film. What do you think is the best bit of practical magic?
The best
if
bit.
you had to pick one, or your favourite bit.
The bit that sticks with me the most is when the woman who wants the man to notice her. So she comes to the two aunts. So she work in a shop and she wants the boss to notice her.
Yeah.
And he doesn't notice her. So she goes to the two aunts to get a spell and said, please make this man fall in love with me and notice me and be obsessed with me and want to be with me all the time and never leave my side. And they do the spell. And then, of course, that is exactly what happens. She can't move for this man because he follows her everywhere. He wants to be by her side all the time. Mm-hmm. And she goes back to them to try and reverse the curse because she's demented, because she can't get any peace because he won't leave her alone for like 2 minutes. I quite like that. That really stuck with me. I thought that's just such a a great message, be careful
Right.
what you wish for, right? Just like, I really want this person to notice me and fall in love with me and find me the
Yeah.
most beautiful thing. And he does, but then he's so obsessed that it takes it on to a whole new level, and her life is miserable because he's so like, where are you going? I'm coming too. I can't
Yeah.
ever leave you alone. So I like that bit. I thought that was really clever. I thought that was
Yeah.
quite and a good message too of kind of, you think, oh, if I had this, I had that, I'd be so much happier.
Right.
But would you? Would you really?
Yeah. Kind of humanizes it a little bit, right? Kind of brings
Yeah.
it back to earth a little bit. Yeah, no, definitely. That was really good. Yeah, no, I'm glad you chose this one. It made me watch. I would have never seen it,
Oh,
otherwise.
good,
So
good.
very happy
Oh,
to have
glad you
watched it.
enjoyed it.
Um, I mentioned Harry Potter a minute ago. Are you a Harry Potter fan? Have you seen Harry Potter?
I've seen the first couple of movies and I think I read the first three books and then I
Right.
lost interest a little bit. Yeah,
Yeah.
wasn't really. I think I was more caught up in the hype of it
Right.
all. I mean, I see it's really great and obviously it's been so successful and obviously for a reason because people love it. And I did enjoy the books, but I wasn't as obsessed perhaps as others going, oh, I can't, the new Harry Potter's out,
Aye.
I must get. I wasn't really that bothered about it, but I did read the first few, but I do think there was perhaps a bit of peer pressure. I was missing out on something. I
I'm
thought I better
exactly the
read
same.
this,
Yeah.
just what am I missing out on? And again, it's more sort of, although practical magic's got a lot of fantasy in it, but it's witchcraft that drew me to that.
Got you.
Whereas magic and fantasy on its own, I don't really have, that's not really my go-to for films or
Hmm.
books. I prefer like the thriller thing, or
Hmm.
indeed anything to do with witchcraft or ghost stories. I'm quite fascinated by. So
Any witchcraft whatsoever is what you're going to go to.
any witchcraft, absolutely. I mean, I
Yeah.
loved Hocus Pocus as well as a
Oh
film.
yeah.
That's really great. And
You seen the second one yet?
I haven't, no,
No, me
no.
neither.
Yeah, and I love Bette Midler. I just think she's fantastic. So I think that I really enjoyed that. I think any film that's got a bit of kind of bit of witchcraft, a bit of kind of because it's such a fascinating subject, and I grew up in an area of Glasgow called Pollock Shores, and I remember as a kid at school we were told a lot of stories about the witch trials
Hmm.
in the Shores, as it was like the Shores is what it was sort of known as, and there was lots of women sort of executed there for that, and I found that as a kid quite that's quite an
Right.
interesting subject, and I want to know, I want to find out more. What's this all about? So I think it's a kind of lifelong interest in that of and I was working up in Pitlochry doing the
Hmm.
season there, just finished last week, and one of the plays, I wasn't in it. There was a new play that was written by Martin McCormack called The Maggie Wall, and it was about a witch who was burnt at the stake, who was from Dunkeld, which is obviously for Pitlochry is quite nearby.
Right.
And again, it was absolutely fantastic. It was a one-woman show, and an actress called Blythe Jandu played the part. She was totally amazing. And again, it was wonderful. I just loved it. Again, but just the story of it and why was she burnt as a witch? What was her
Mm.
crime? And it was like, I think she was really pretty and she attracted a lot of attention from men.
Right.
And people were suspicious of that because other women didn't like her because they were like, oh, you're bewitching my man and
Got
things.
you.
And then somebody did fall in love with her, but it was the wrong guy. So again, his family were not happy about
Yeah.
this and said, well, you've been bewitched by this woman. So
That
that
does
was
sound good.
really good play. It's brilliant. I'm hoping they'll maybe do it again,
Mm.
somewhere because it's really worth seeing the Maggie Wall. But yeah, so that was interesting. And there's a site in Dunkeld I didn't go to visit, but I will next time where you can go and there's a plaque up to
Cool.
Maggie there. Yeah. So
Nice. So much so you wrote a musical about it,
I
and
did.
it's going to be on in November.
Yeah, yeah. So this is a yeah, all things witchcraft I really like, and also think there's a kind of I think musicals as well, like Wicked and stuff, has
Yeah.
been a really great one. And okay, that's more about the relationship between the good fairy and and the witch and stuff, and the reimagining of that, which I think is lovely. Of how it's like, oh, why was she so annoyed?
Yeah. Got you.
why was she so angry in the Wizard of Oz? And obviously you're like, well, let's see what happened to her, how she was, persecuted and
Yeah, and made the villain.
left out. Yeah, she was made to be the villain because of the things that happened to her as a young woman that shaped that. And really in Wicked, I suppose it's Delinda that's the kind of
Yeah.
sort of more difficult one, shall we say, the more kind of precocious of the two. And
Yeah.
so I like that. I just think anything to do with it. I think in Scotland as well, I think we're a country of great legend with ghost stories and witchcraft and the Scottish witch trials and things. So I think as a country, we've got a lot of very interesting history with that.
Totally.
So I think it's good to explore that and to learn a bit more about it. And I've learned, even just working with Irene on the show, I've learned a lot of things about why people were tried for witchcraft, what was going on with that, what the reasons behind it. So it's a really interesting subject to, if you're interested in it. There's a lot of really, really upsetting stuff too. You know, a lot of stuff that's quite alarming and awful, but it's a very interesting subject to read about, to learn a bit more about.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know anything about. That's the issue. Like, I don't know anything about these like old stories and things and legends like that. Like, so I'm always very fascinated to find out whether it is like watching like a very universal film like Practical Magic, or seeing, you know, a show close up, one woman show, something like that, to kind of educate you a little bit about it. Is something I'd probably really benefit from. You know, so no, that's cool. How was the Pitlochry season that you just worked on? Because I remember you mentioned that earlier in the year.
It was great. I absolutely loved it. It's the first season I've done. I was offered the season a few years ago, but I couldn't do it. Just something had it happened
Right.
sort of, that kind of clashed with it, and I couldn't do it. So I'd always, as an actor, I'd always wanted to do it at least once, just to have the experience of being there. And it's such a beautiful place. It's a gorgeous setting. The theatre's lovely. Everyone in the theatre is so nice. The directors were all lovely. The cast, everyone was great. It was a really lovely place to work. We had a fairly nice summer. The weather was quite nice, so it was a beautiful place to be. You know, when the sun was shining and all the hills and things. And I was in Sunshine on Leith, which I loved. I'd seen the show before. I was involved with it years ago, and I thought it was just such an amazing musical. And when I was offered that, I really wanted to be part of that. I thought that would be really great. So it was great. And then I also did another play called Noises Off, which was a kind of 1970s farce.
Cool.
Which was good fun. Really hard work, though, really physically, a lot of physical stuff, bobbing up and downstairs. And but again, it was a great cast in that, great fun. So
cool. That sounds good. What else have you got coming up? So obviously we've got the Coven coming up in November. Producing, directing, or just producing?
I'm not producing it. The college are producing it. I'm just doing the music for that. I'm musical director for it. Yeah, so just written the music and doing the music for it. And I'm at the Pavilion Theatre with Jukebox Memories in November with my group, the Swing Cats, and then I'm going to Thailand for a few months on holiday.
Nice. For a few months. Nice.
A couple months, yeah. Well, it's just I thought, why not, right?
Why not?
The weather's so bad here. Why not? Right, go away to Thailand. I do a bit of exploring for a wee while, and then when I come back, I'm involved in a show called Bend It Like Bertie, which is about Bertie Auld. My brother wrote the play.
Oh wow!
And my brother my brother Jim started writing about 4 or 5 years ago. He retired. He took early retirement, and he was an accountant. And he said, he'd always dabbled in writing, and he always had a flair for it. But he said, I'd really like to write a play. And I was like, well, if I can, help you in any way with it. So he'd give me stuff to read, and I'd maybe say, well, you could do this, you could do that. But all the ideas were his. I would just maybe, as an actor, maybe look at it and say, well, things. I think some of his early stuff had like a cast of like 15 characters and things. And I'm like, okay, so that's going to be tricky on a budget. That might be hard to produce that. But because he's such a huge Celtic fan, that was his passion. So obviously, write about what you know, I guess, is how you write successfully. And he's written this. I think Bertie will be his third play that he's written, and they're all have a sort of football Celtic theme, and that's going on at the Pavilion next February, and it stars Des McLean as Bertie Auld. He does an amazing Bertie, so yes, I'm looking forward to that, and I'm producing that, but I'm also going to be in that as well.
Brilliant. What about in terms of social media? Where can people find you and follow you on the socials?
Where they can find me? Oh my goodness. Okay, on the socials. Right. Well,
do you want me to find it for you?
Maybe need to find it. Well, I have a bit called the Swing Cats are on Facebook as the Swing Cats. We have a page there, and we have like Twitter and all that. And me personally, it's just me, I suppose. Just if anybody wants to,
we've got @the_Swing Cats on Twitter.
That's us, yeah.
There you go. And then on your website, I believe it's just alysonaw.com.
It's alysonaw.com. Yeah, if anybody wants to send me a message and recommend a film to me.
There you go. Recommend a film, a book, a musical, who knows?
Absolutely. Or a subject for the musical. You should write a musical about this. I'm like, right, great.
Yeah, I'll give you loads of ideas. All right, thank you so much for your time. I really appreciate it, Alyson. It means a lot that you came on. And thank you, everybody, for listening and for watching this episode of the Good Bit Podcast. Take care of yourselves, everybody, and we'll catch you all down the road.
Citizens